Well, so we'll be telling you about the weather very soon. But before we do that, let also give you a certain linkage as to how you need to get your bearing as you come into the city from elsewhere. You know, many of us just tend to live outside the city and then come into work. So, ketsytraffic.com.gh. It's been a while we've done this, so just wanted to. The internet is good today. Just tell you about what the situation is at the Ring Road Central route, and you can see that. The usual activity of having a Monday morning busy scene is what you can see on your pictures right now. You can just quickly be using that route. So you just be having that linkage from GBC or from Kanda, and then you head towards what we used to call Circle. It's still all of us know in a Circle. Now let's go to the airport city area, and look, it's a bit foggy with camera lenses because of the constant rain we've been witnessing, and so we'll try and plead with officials of traffic.com.gh to give us some of the best pictures, clean just the lenses so that we can get some. But this one is overlooking the airport shell. It looks like traffic is not that much, so you can quickly just use it in the meantime and get your bearing if you want to head towards Elwak, the cantonment area of 37. Easy for you to do so using this route. Or even you're getting to Airport City, very easy for you to use this route as well. Now let's go to the Bema Camp Gifford Road. It has a certain linkage to the bypass that will take you to the airport area, and you get to find out if you're coming from that main route, that bypass that will link you from the Palace Shopping Mall through some of those new estates we have, and linking you to the main Elwak route. There's a traffic congestion towards the traffic that will lead you to Elwak, and it also will mean that if you're using this route, you face a bit of traffic. So if you can rather just have a detour through the Tetekwashi area, through the Polo Ground area, it will help you. But you have no option. You want to use this route to Labadi. It looks like this will be the best time for you to use it, because you just meet a little bit of traffic heading towards the traffic lights around Elwak, and then you make your detour and head towards the trade fair area to Labadi and many of those areas connecting that end. But let's go to Tetekwashi, and you have commuters coming from Legon, and before then it would have been coming from Medina, Zongo Junction. We'll have Adentam right here, many of those areas. It's a Monday morning, so you find that traffic is slowly building up at this time of the hour, just 33 minutes past 6 o'clock. And for those who are coming from Legon, you find a bit of traffic heading towards Airport 37 and then Flagstaff House, or let's say Jubilee House as it is now. So just a bit of traffic. But for those who are coming from Tema, right from the Tema motorway heading towards the Jowulu Junction, it looks like it's a good route for you to use. And then you can make that detour either straight to Achimota or head towards Abeka, or make that detour through the Jowulu end through Roman Ridge, Accra. But the traffic is building now. Let's look at the last end. That will be the Tema end of the Accra-Tema motorway. And the construction activity is ongoing. It's an extension of the Tema Port Expansion Project. These are some of the ancillary works that are being done. A runabout for the Tema runabout. But of course, those who are coming from Dowenya, Chopoli, etc., Fienya would always have a bit of traffic before they make that bend, either go to Tema or just cross over to the motorway and take that detour to Tetekwashi. But just a bit of traffic. So that'll be it for the run-up of which of the routes you have to use. ketsytraffic.com.gh. In the meantime, Mamavi is ready with the latest weather. But as we prepare for that, we have to look at what stories we have on the front and back pages of the newspapers, and well, we'll try as much as possible. But it looks like, well, we'll start with the Ghanaian Times first, right? Mamavi, good morning to you. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I am doing great, thank you.
How was your weekend?
It was good. I was in Kumasi on Saturday. Only returned yesterday. Yeah. You know, Kwame Boateng lost his mother, so we had to go and support him. Yeah, our condolences once again to the family. The burial and the final
good work
funeral,
that you guys went to.
It was well organized, and Kumasi is still a very incredible place. You know, I love Kumasi.
Yeah. Did you eat fufu?
And no, I don't eat fufu, so I didn't. But I went by road, so I kind of really went through lots of towns, Konongo, Agogo, you know, and it was more of sightseeing also for me.
It's just so
and it's good to explore, so that's what I did in Koko and all those areas.
It was a good reveling experience for you.
So good morning to everybody watching the show in the Ashanti region, you know, the entire stretch to Kumasi. I went to Trede, by the way, which is a little after Kumasi. Yeah. So good weekend it was. We hope that you had a good weekend as well. Let's do the newspapers. You were here, or you went for a funeral? You went to Hull?
No, I was
No. Okay. All right. Let's do the Ghanaian Times. Front page of the Times today. Fake soldier arrested in Tumu. Lotto receivers pledge support for Otumfuo lottery game. Check status of foreigners as part of tenancy agreement. Volta Regional Minister charges landlords. GSA closes down illegal electrical appliances company. And the 2019 BC begins. 517,332 sit for exams today. One of those is my nephew.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, let's do the back page of the paper.
What's the name?
Just deal with Nelson.
Yeah, Nelson. Nelson, we wish you all the best in the examination.
Back page of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. NCC election reschedule. That's the election committee for the Accra Hearts of Oak National Chapters Committee. It has been rescheduled. That's the story on the back page right there. Kotoko triumph over Arsenal in Tier 2 NC competition. Stars fall to Namibia. And friendly, we suffered a 1-0 defeat. This is ahead of the
Nations Cup.
Okay, center spread of the paper. Government inaugurates 30-bed capacity polyclinic at Oduman. Russian embassy hands over 22 Kamaz trucks, 5 trailers to WFP office in Accra, and that's the World Food Program office in Accra. And then details of the examination happening today. A total of 517,332 candidates from 16,871 public and private basic schools nationwide will this morning begin a 2019 basic education certificate examination made up of 263,616 males and 253,716 females, representing an increase of 7,508 over the 2018 figure, and will converge at 1,880 examination centers. They will be supervised by a total of 21,726 supervisors, the assistants, and invigilators. And you know that in particularly last week, we heard about a lot more details, actions that the examination body is taking to prevent people from cheating. So they've asked invigilators, for instance, not to go in there with phones and other materials, because it is alleged that sometimes the invigilators help the students to cheat. Yeah.
I think the good news out of all this is that in the Chereponi area where we've had some violence, at least some students, at least 97 of them in a particular school would have the opportunity to sit. The only concern is that the teachers and those who are instructing them are worried that they may not have prepared for the exam because of the ensuing conflict that resulted.
Yeah. But we know that particularly the girls that Gifty spoke to, they were so determined. We know that they will find a way. I mean, they would find a way to make it. So we wish them well. So all our nieces and our nephews and our children, our grandchildren who are sitting for this main exams, you know, this is like your first exams, really. We wish them the best, and we hope that parents and guardians will help them handle the week. Is going to be tough. They haven't done this before in this manner. So we hope that you give them all the support, the necessary support. We'll be roving and be sharing a lot more with how students are preparing for this exam. Just one story that I thought we will share just a little bit in detail in the Ghanaian Times before we move on. This is from page 15. The Volta Regional Minister, Dr. Archibald Ayasha, has reminded landlords whose tenants are foreigners to make sure that they possess valid immigration papers as a condition for the tenancy agreement. And this call is coming because in recent weeks, really, we know that there have been some arrests, particularly in the whole area, where some 29 Nigerians suspected to be cyber fraudsters were picked up by the police. So the call is coming at a good time, where landlords are supposed to check and ensure that the tenants have the necessary documentations if they are foreigners before they give them their facilities. So that's the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Let me follow up with the Finder newspaper, and then Roland will come in. Front page of the Finder on oil adopts new model contracts that pays oil companies per barrel of oil recovered. That's a call by the IEA. Minorities claim on debt lacks merit in economics. That's Information Minister there. Stanchart commits to drive Ghana's development. Look excited to sell Otumfuo lottery game scratch card nationwide. Roland?
Yeah, so we have the Daily Guide newspaper. On the front page, we have arrest warrant for Fosu Ampofo. It's on page 3 of the paper. We'll tell you a bit about that when we look at the stories in detail. Alpha Radio CEO build orphanage. It's also on the front page of the Daily Guide. Al-Qaeda, ISIS targets Ghana. And we all know the alerts that have been issued, and then the latest, the British High Commission and government issuing that on their sites and giving all British citizens in Ghana and those who are interested in visiting our country to be on the alert when they make that decision.
I'm wondering the alerts that we issue to ourselves as Ghanaians.
Yeah, no alerts.
I was just thinking, what kind of alerts have we given to ourselves?
Do we even have
it's almost as if we don't matter. Yeah. You know, the foreigners take care of their own in our country, but we don't take care of ourselves
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Game changer for Otumfuo lottery is on page 11 of the paper, but well, the back page is a story carried over from page 30. It's who takes over from the normalization committee. You know, pictures there of Fred Papo, Papse, George Friye, and then we have Nanaya Wampansa. All those pictures there. But let's go to the center spread of the Daily Guide. It's a news one pull out, and it says Patapa shows off German lover on stage. That one inserted picture of Patapa. We got to watch excerpts of Ghana meets Niger. It's quite interesting, especially when Stoneboy was in Kenya attending an event, having a massive crowd in Kenya, and then Shatawale also was in the Aliu Mahama Stadium in Tamale. So he left the show with many other things. Well, we have Shatawale, Makasio, thrill fans in Tamale, and those of you who are in Tamale, you can tell us if you attended the show how it was by tagging us on our Facebook page, JoyNews on TV.
That's where he got some title, be like, what?
Dance Hall Now. Dance Hall Now.
Okay.
So, okay, let's look at another paper. The Daily Democrat. The Daily Democrat has a story. Hanabisu Japs Ekufuado. Naplog to support the Otumfuo lottery game, Frankie J. That's the Daily Democrat. Barclays Bank fined for fraud again. And Ghana's debt hits 200 billion Ghana cedis, but nothing to show, according to the paper. And it says Elembele MP donates 2,000 mathematical sets to BEC candidates on the back page of the paper. Those are the stories we have for now. Which ones do you want to take a look at?
I am doing the Daily Graphic, and I am just focusing on a story in the center spread of the paper. Ban on caning promotes safe learning environment, according to clergyman. But I wanted to ask, following that, what kind of alternatives do you use in punishing your children? Apart from the cane, what other alternatives do you use? How do you punish them?
I deny them of something, or I threaten them that you won't get money for school or something.
Okay,
so,
does it work?
Yeah, it works.
Okay,
it works.
All right.
I deny them something, yeah. And then I threaten them, don't come asking me for money for school tomorrow. And somehow they comply.
Okay, so there is a positive discipline toolkit. You don't have to cane your children because, of course, that's been banned, even though some people still do it. You have to learn the different ways of punishing your children apart from using the cane. Let's do the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. 5 arrested over missing tomato paste at Tema Port. Verify our drivers before patronizing vehicles. Uber urges passengers. And this reminds me, I mean, driving on the Kumasi road, the VIP buses, oh my God, it's as if every vehicle they meet, they have to clear. You know, like as soon as they, yeah, it was horrible.
And they're coming
I could count like 10 buses all driving the same way. I mean, who controls the VIP buses? Who owns them? Like, who checks them? I mean, they drive like they are like
reckless.
Some jeeps or something. Like they meet you, no, they have to clear you. Amazing. I don't know, but as people who patronize, who sit in those buses,
should be asking questions of the drivers.
Exactly. I mean, and you compare that to, you see an STC, and this is just me watching on the road, going and coming. Like,
and STC drivers comported themselves?
There was a lot of discipline in the driving. But the VIP bus just meets you, and he's just honking like as if you don't know what you're doing on the road, so just move away and let me just overtake you. As if it wasn't human beings they were carrying. We've got to watch them, seriously. We have to watch them. We know that they've been involved, unfortunately, in some horrible accidents in the past. But the way they drive, the way I saw them drive on Saturday and Sunday, oh, no way. Yeah. Let's take to the rest of the stories on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Minorities claim on debt stock falls, according to government. Providing loans for student, government needs 189 million Ghana cedis next year. Center spread. Businessman donates marts set to 1,350 BC candidates, and it came at the right time, really. The man is Alexander Aqua. He's donated a quantity of mathematical sets of instrument valued at 6,400 Ghana cedis to all students in the 1,350 junior high schools in the Birim Central Municipality who will participate in this year's BCE. His name is Alexander Aqua. He's a businessman and he's done this. So, you know, we say thank you to him on behalf of the children, the recipients of his generosity. Gonja Land Youth Association urges calm in Bole. Gold in the Soil Awards received 70 nominations, and this is what I was talking about a bit earlier, the ban on caning and the fact that it promotes safe learning environment. So here it is, the presbytery of this is the Achim Abuakwa Presbytery of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. They organized a one-day sensitization workshop on alternative ways of disciplining children. And, you know, there's a lot to share. If you're a parent guardian, please look into it and see what you can pick up. And they talk about the fact that the ban on caning, even though it was good, or it is good, it was rejected, greeted with rejection amid fears that it would lead to breakdown in discipline in schools and society. But, you know, they're highlighting the positives and giving the alternative ways that you can also punish your children.
Yeah. I think personally, learning from the experience of having been caned as a child, because in our parents' generation, that was the norm. Sometimes psychologically, you tend to also repeat that on your children. And I think that I tried doing that in the early or in the formative years, when my children were infants. And I got to, over time, have reason that it looks like these children these days, they could think better than we think they could. Okay. So why don't you reason with them instead of trying to exert all these forms of punishment on them? And it looks like if you reason with them, because one thing I noticed, especially for the younger one, immediately he knows that he did something wrong, and you don't beat him, but you just kind of threaten him of not receiving something that he always likes, he comes back to tap you, you know, as a way of
remorse.
Yeah, comes to tell you, daddy, you know, all that. So it means that he wants to show you that he's remorseful.
And he's aware that what he did was wrong.
Yeah.
So I ask you as a parent, but have you wondered how teachers also deal with students? I think the challenge there is you're not supposed to use the cane. Most of them, or some of them, that's all they knew. And in this story, they will tell you how some teachers have decided that if your child misbehaves, they said I shouldn't cane him or her, so I won't do anything. I'll just watch your child misbehave. After all, they're in school for a couple of hours, and then they'll come back to you, you know.
Yes. And
the thing is that if you don't discipline your child, whatever means, without the cane, then it will be difficult for the teacher to continue that because you're not doing it. How does the teacher enforce that? And if they're not using the cane, which would have been easier in some sense, even though it's not good, then how do they do it? You know, so there's some kind of conflict there.
Yeah, there is. And if you're involved in the actions or the activities of your parent-teacher association in your ward school, you get to find out that it depends on the school, though, because there are some schools which is 0-0. You get to find that there's always the complaint, even from your own children, that some of the students or their friends in school are a bit indisciplined because it means that there's also a lack of discipline at home because parents have misconstrued the whole concept about don't cane your child and so have been inactive in exerting some form of discipline on their children because you can discipline your child without caning but if you don't do it at all, then it's a concern because it means that the child becomes deviant in school and thinking, So, because the children, they think further than we think, the way they have to reason.
So parents, you have to help teachers so that the work will be a lot easier on them. I know a class where some children have been branded like these are the bad boys, they are stubborn, like it really doesn't matter what you say. You ask the teacher, I say, oh, we've spoken to the parents, and sometimes they don't even want to hear, you know, that you say this about their child. So we've left them. And what they tell you as a parent of another child that they think, oh, there's discipline there, they would say, talk to your child so that they don't mingle with these children. Meanwhile, they're in the same class. And so we have to watch it as parents. Yeah. Okay, let's do some more stories. Should I?
Yeah, do.
All right. The Daily Statesman newspaper. Front page of the Statesman. Make Ebri safe now. The houses are hanging on the hill. When I see houses like that, I kind of admire, but they're really, really also very dangerous. There is a certain campaign, and they are highlighting. Let's go to page 11 in the Daily Statesman newspaper, but the story is on the front, the headline is on the front page right there. People are building houses on the rock face of the hills, approaching one of Ghana's favorite getaways. Their actions make disaster much more probable. Absolutely. Yeah. So they've taken some photos in 2017 showing the hillside. And then the same house, a house built on the crumbling rocks that line the road to Ebri. If you do that, Charlie, it will be easy. This is what? How many years of investment? Like your whole life. Yeah. Life's investment. And then you won't be able to live in it. What's the point? Mahama Yariga's rotten deals. That's the headline on the front page of the paper. The inside story on milking the state of thousands of dollars. Also, freight forwarders kick against 11% increase in tariffs. That's what's on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper. The Ghanaian Observer, the final one that I will do. Government slams minority over false claims on public debts. Ashanti Region Chief Imam prays for Akufo-Addo to retain power in 2020. UK government raises alerts over terrorist attack in Ghana, and Naplok backs Otumfuo lottery game. That's the Ghanaian Observer newspaper.
Okay, so we have two more. We have the Independent newspaper. The Independent, the Independent newspaper has a story over 6 billion Ghana cedi deposits with savings and loan companies at risk. You have an attack picture there of the head of other financial institutions supervision at the Bank of Ghana, Joseph Amwa Ewa. Savings and loans. Well, why sacrifice Atiwa Forest, or Itiwa Forest, 70 years of mining only decimated Obuasi, Akwitia and others. A coalition is crying, and only 20% eligible taxpayers pay tax, we're told. But, well, we'll have to end with a daily dispatch, and we're ending because of good reason. Well, I particularly. It's been captioned, that's the main story on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, how Ghanaian women can lobby MPP and NDC to guarantee them 60 seats. You have to lobby, right? And not locked to support
That's just one stretch of it. Getting the women on the ground to participate in the election is also another thing. Yeah, that's more crucial. Yeah, women who are interested.
And if you take a look at, you know, the last time I was saying that many of the difficulties I feel that is burdening the whole argument and doing the transition to involve more women in leadership and national politics. There's a cultural side or social-cultural side that we haven't tackled yet, because while we make that argument, it has to come from the mindset of the people as well, that they need that total change, that the woman can also be effective, can be a credible leader, and also can be what it is. For example, since we've had the argument and the criticisms on government, particularly with what the president said during that interaction he had. We've had, for example, a press conference in which we've had women ministers come to address, and it's received some negative reactions on social media.
I totally disagree with them as well. I mean, president spoke, let people have their say.
It looks like the whole action of the government machinery trying to defend what the president did, it's as if then the president was that wrong, and so they have to come and defend him.
And then we begin to politicize the whole conversation. I thought it was a nice trigger. It got all of us talking. And then suddenly we're politicizing it, and it's you know, like we're women in his government, so we have to defend him. But yeah, we're all Ghanaians. I mean, we're citizens. We're not spectators. If the president says something, somebody can disagree with him or agree with him. We don't need a force to come and deliberately...
What the president said was, and you have been very much on this, repeating it, was that...
I mean, I absolutely support what he said.
The president said that it should not be just a giving, but you also need to have that continuous advocacy being there from the women's demographics of the population themselves, in which if they are also given the opportunity, they'll be forthcoming to say we want to do this. That has been absent on one hand, but also my argument and the argument of many people is that it has to be instigated or deliberate. Otherwise, if we just sit down and think that the women, then they will not come.
There's something, you know, I'm reminded of something, just thinking. The three women that spoke, you know, at the press conference, you know, essentially supporting the president and also strongly making the case that yes, you know, activism, women involvement in terms of the advocacy is basically dead. I have an issue. You know, we talk about the fact that we've got an affirmative bill in Parliament. Remember that when the Nana Kunedus, I kind of appreciate when Hajia and Esla and Co were doing the advocacy back in the day. We didn't have good representation of women in Parliament, but now we do. So I've got a question. The women in Parliament, as we have it today, can we say exactly what they have done in terms of bring some pressure to bear on a certain particular policy that we've seen it come to life? So we are talking about all other women, you know, all women advocacy groups. But remember that we have a certain small force in Parliament as women. And the question to them really this morning, even as they meet in groups in the name of political parties and supporting this government or that party, what they have done as women in Parliament to bring to life a certain policy that would enhance and support what the president was calling for, really, which I support, except that having listened to other people, that platform as a gender champion, you know, probably he could have, you know, put it in another sense. But I'm receiving it as a Ghanaian. So as a Ghanaian, in the context of, you know, then he's absolutely right. It's just, you know, maybe the platform, he could have said it differently. But there's a challenge to all women and to the women in Parliament in particular. We can't fight it the way you used to fight it, you know, but now we have a good representation, even though you're not many, we get it. But Can you point to something that you have forcefully done in Parliament that we have seen grown and blossom in Ghana that we can point to?
As we wrap up on this, my last contribution, especially with the argument you've raised, is that I've said this before, and if you look at what's the trend and you analyze what the trend has been since 1993, when we said we're in the Fourth Republic and this whole dispensation, is that participation in political governance is always with those who have been loyal and subservient or served parties. And so you can find that the parties have not always roped in some of the best of the social capital of the human resource that we have in our country to participate in political governance. As a result of that, we've had, whether they are males or females, the political parties filling sometimes square pegs with round holes, people who don't have the right competencies, etc., to undertake political governance. That would mean that the parties have the power to ensure that they rope into their fold anybody that they want. If you take a mix of MPP and NDC, they have safe seats out of the 275, 200 of those seats. They can decide to put women by lobbying their people within the constituencies to say that we want these women to be part of us. And
would they be putting them there simply because they're women?
I'm coming.
Women.
So that's where you have a problem.
Yeah.
So if they have 200 safe seats, they can say that for this term and the next, we want to have 100 from both sides. Just like the way we talk about vigilantism, etc., that conscious effort to say that 200 is a given, but you lobby the people within the party and the constituency. But not only picking those who are just servants and loyal to the party over the years, but those who are competent from those constituencies, whether they are in the parties or not, to rope them in to be part of the political governance. Because look, we all have worked with varied women who are competent in management, have gone to school with them, and they're always ahead of us. They get some of the A's and we get the B's and the C's.
Just the final question, Roland. Are those women ready to get into politics? That's another conversation. We have to take a breather and bring you sports. Lots of things to talk about. We'll leave all the details to Benedict. But just to say that the Women's World Cup is ongoing, but you hear basically nobody talking about it in Ghana, maybe because we didn't qualify. But we need, the conversation going, even on the Women's World Cup as well. Stay with us. There's more details in sports coming up.